Welcome to the MoxStars podcast. My name is Evan Kunai, and I am here with Christopher Ritter.
What's up?
Dude, the energy is off the charts.
Yeah, I thought you were jacking my energy, so I was gonna steal your vibes.
Yeah, we got it.
Also, we're recording this at 8:30 a.m. and I don't know if my neighbors appreciated that.
Well, that was the reason for my energy. I am not there yet.
Yeah.
I am.
Well, I hate my neighbors, so I am more than happy to antagonize them.
I heard that the algorithm on YouTube actually hates if you swear in the first 30 seconds, so I will withhold my cursing of your neighbors.
Did I use any saucy language? Because you know what, I also I was trying to not use salty language.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
We're good.
Yeah.
We're good with Algae Rhythm.
Yes.
Who we mention every single episode now for some reason.
Yeah, we're in the clear, and no more Space Jam 2 references, please. That it is a travesty.
This is tyranny.
It's a new legacy, is what it is. This is the #1 podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering and Dr. Pepper, the home of the mid-range mindset. Did you like that?
Ooh.
Did you like that plug?
Yeah, I like that. We are dialing in on this catchphrase.
Yes.
I think we're locked in on it. Actually, not even dialing in. We are locked in.
That felt good. Yeah. I mean, if you thought that felt good, make sure to let us know in the comment section on the YouTube channel, where if you are watching us on YouTube right now, you can see that I have our YouTube channel pulled up on the screen. You can see all of our most recent videos, and make sure you subscribe, like the video, and give us that thumbs up. You can also just support us on all major podcasting platforms, and you can also find us through our link tree, which I put a link in the description of each podcast episode, where you can find our YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, Discord, Instagram, our Twitch channel, all of our social media. Speaking of Patreon and social media, you can also support us on Patreon. By becoming a supporter, you become an official Pepperhead for $3 a month, and you get access to exclusive channels on the Discord server. And if you want to be that extra person, that extra spicy Pepperhead, you can join the Cherry Vanilla Pepperhead tier, and that is $5 a month. And like UWP Quirt, show us some superstar level support. You get 2 free entries into every single giveaway that we do, which we're doing giveaways every 2 weeks. And this week's giveaway is a foil Infinity Stomping Ground. So meteors falling to
Earth.
Earth.
Sweet looking card.
Yes, it is a cherished possession that I'm willing to part with. And if you'd like to enter without supporting the Patreon, you can do so by leaving us a comment on YouTube and stating which is your favorite new card from Outlaws at Thunder Junction. We're going to be talking about that today.
I want to interrupt here. I want to interrupt here and just say, if you want to enter the contest, you have to follow the rules to actually get the entry.
Yes.
Just a clarification, we were talking about this before the podcast, that you have to follow the request to get the free entry.
Yeah.
You can't just comment and expect entry.
Right.
It's a simple request.
There were a few
requests, but you got to do it.
There were a few people last week who they had got on the Instagram, and then they just liked the post and left a comment maybe or something like that,
which we
appreciate. Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Yeah,
but appreciation is not entry into a giveaway.
Correct.
For legal reasons, it is not entry into a giveaway.
But
and for ethical and moral reasons, we're drawing a line in the sand.
100%.
It's about respect.
You got it. Yeah.
You respect our rules, we'll respect your entry.
100%. And if you do not want to follow the rules and leave a comment with your favorite card from Outlaws of Thunder Junction on the YouTube video, you can also enter by becoming a Patreon supporter. The Pepperhead tier gets 1 free entry. The Cherry Vanilla Pepperhead tier gets 2 free entries. All right. Ritter, there's a lot happening in the world right now.
Actually, I have another interruption. I have Dr. Pepper news.
Ooh. This is worth interrupting.
It is. Yeah, I saw online that there are Dr. Pepper Peeps. Have you had these?
What?
Have you heard tell of these?
What?
Yeah, Dr. Pepper Peeps, of course. You know, the people at the Peeps Corporation are hard at work just murdering all of those innocent baby chickens and turning them into marshmallows. And, you know, in the process of their bloodlust and murdering those innocent baby chickens that they turn into the marshmallows, like, you know, they like to innovate with new flavors, you know, because it's not just about the murdering the innocent baby chickens. It's about the flavors. They like to have fun with it, you know? If they're going to go to this dark place and just, you know, like mad scientists just taking these innocent chickens and turning them into marshmallows, they want to have fun with it occasionally. And what they've done is they've got a Dr. Pepper flavor now.
It's unbelievable. I've been in awe of what you've been saying since you mentioned Dr. Pepper Peep.
I dropped a lot of deep lore as the background to to talking about the Dr. Pepper flavored Peeps. I know that.
Dude, I just love Peeps.
Look it up. I'm sure there's some YouTube videos about the horrors happening at the Peeps factory.
I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah, you should. You really should. We got to get eyes on this. We're not okay with this as a society, right? Every year, Easter comes around, and we just forget about what these maniacs truly are doing at the Peeps factory.
They're just too nice a treat, man. I love Peeps. And
yeah, you know what might be good, actually? These Dr. Pepper Peeps as a little marshmallow topping. Maybe you like brulee it on top of a hot Dr. Pepper situation.
Boo! Dude, that would be explosive.
That would be crazy.
I would love that. I used to love Peeps so much, and I was so vocal about it when I was a kid that like my grandparents like would go and they would get me every like special edition of Peeps because we would see them every Sunday. Okay. And so like I would get like all these weird flavors when it would be like holiday time, and you get all the like weird. I mean, I'd get gingerbread candy cane, like the Christmas tree shaped ones, and like everything. Every flavor. It came around Valentine's Day. You knew I was getting the strawberry ones, and I even got the chocolate ones that were strawberry scent. It had like a strawberry center to them.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, and then so I had a deep love for Peeps, so much that when my relatives got older, they weren't quite sure which one of the Kunai boys liked Peeps, and so now because my brother is around more, they just de facto said it must have been him. And so he gets Peep presents now that I don't live in Wisconsin anymore, and he is like, you picked the wrong one, it's not me. He gets by proxy,
what a tragedy.
By proxy of my Peep love, he gets gifted Peeps because he is closer in proximity to my family.
Truly a tragedy for you.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting all the.
Yeah.
And so now when I go home, they're like, you don't love Peeps. He loves Peeps. And I'm like, no, it's me.
Is he listening to this?
Yeah, probably. He won the freaking giveaway last time.
Okay, well, if we're sending him cards, he can send you this Peep stuff.
It
seems only fair.
You gotta reciprocate the love. Willie, I don't feel it. I need your Peeps. All right, let's.
Willie, share your Peeps.
I know
We've said it once. We've said it a million times on this podcast. Willie, share your Peeps.
Share the Peeps.
Is that our second catchphrase? besides mid-range mindset?
You know,
Really share the peeps.
We've talked about it at least once.
Yeah.
And like
we'll see if it's recurring as much as mid-range mindset in future episodes.
Yeah. I mean, this is technically Dr. Pepper conversation. So
it is.
Yeah,
I mean, we're the #1 podcast on the internet for Magic the Gathering and Dr. Pepper. And if you're only listening to this episode, it's definitely true in regards to Dr. Pepper. I'm not really so sure if we are a Magic the Gathering podcast, but there's still time for that to change in this episode.
Yes, there is time for that to change. And if this is your first time listening to this show, welcome in. This is we're not usually this.
No, this is 100% normal. This is what we do. Unfortunately,
Ritter's owning it. It is wearing his heart on his sleeve today.
This is the podcast. This is a representative sample. And now, Magic the Gathering.
Ritter, we've seen a lot of new stuff come out this week. And since we're recording very early on a Thursday morning, the day before this episode launches, we are getting exposure to the maximum number of cards that we possibly can. Seeing as this week was, like the start of spoilers, obviously there have been leaks, so we've gotten some of these cards in advance, but it is good to see them officially in their official text and their official status and their officialness. So, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, a set coming to you soon. The Western...
When does this drop?
I am gonna Google that right now.
It drops soon.
Thunder Junction release.
You know what, you keep doing your thing.
Date is April 19th.
Confirmed.
April 19th is confirmed. All right. So we have seen tons of legendary creatures in this set, and we were talking off the record and just saying, like, if this is a set where you were hoping to see all of your favorite legendary creatures come together for the thinnest veil of a Western themed Magic set in history, congratulations, this is the perfect set for you. But if you are not into immersion, this is great.
Yeah, this might not be it. Like, because if you're looking at this, is almost like the Lego movies in terms of how they deal with. We've talked about the different interpretations of how Magic is dealing with the multiverse now. This is like a little Lego movie mix them up. Like they're just like, we got this setting, we got these characters, we're gonna put these characters in this setting with slightly applying the basic rules of our universe and our canon. But this is really just a fun goof 'em up.
Yes, yeah, this is a fun goof 'em up, and I liken this to, like, as far as like immersion. For me, the veil is broken, like, and it's like basically due to the fact that when they were telling this story, which I went through and I read the whole thing, that the thing that I could not get out of my head is that this plane was uninhabited a year ago. Like from the events of this like set.
So I haven't read the story, and I'm sure not everyone is reading the stories.
They're a tough read.
Give me a brief overview of what it's about.
Yeah, so it is ultimately Kellen is searching for his dad, Oko, and Oko has appeared on the plane and put together a band of misfits, and all of them with particular skills, Anti-Flash being one of them. Anti-Flash particularly, this is also another veil-breaking part of the story. Anti-Flash particularly has the ability to see through illusions and disguises. So she immediately, upon meeting Oko, sees through Oko's disguise that he's currently wearing, and so he reveals his true self, where he hadn't done that yet on the plane. He had sort of been, hadn't really revealed himself to like Vraska and stuff like that. So Anti-Flash has a very keen eye, but as you can see, Jace is in the set disguised as Ashiok, and the amount of times that Anti-Flash was confronted put in the same room as Ashiok, and we did not see, and that wasn't like revealed, was uncomfortable. It was very uncomfy. Like it was a hard read to be like,
so,
how do you not see that?
Plot armor is more than just like this character can't die. Like that is where the term originates, but plot armor also implies that like certain main characters, you don't approach, their narrative rationally. Like, they'll just accomplish whatever they need to accomplish within the narrative because they're a protagonist,
Yeah, and the thing about like the gang that they put together, they're all represented by the wanted poster special printings here. So the gang is Oko, Kellen, Anti-Flash, Rakdos, Satoru, Vraska, Tiny Bones, and Gisa and Giralf. So they didn't make a Giralf, or we haven't at least seen the Giralf one yet, but
they did make a Giralf, the Fleshright.
Yes, they did, but the wanted posters, they haven't released the Giralf one yet.
Yeah.
So Oko, Kellen, Anti-Flash, Rakdos is just here as like they call him the Muscle, like that's his card name. That's literally all he has. He has no story beyond that, except he's too big to fit into most rooms, and they keep making that joke like multiple times. Satoru has a little bit more influence. Same with Vraska. Vraska is working behind the scenes on a few things. Tiny Bones is just a like kitschy, easy way out for a lot of these characters when they get into a tight pinch, where they're like, oh, he'll just disassemble himself on the other side of the bars of the prison where we're being held.
He's a little bit Groot in this.
Yes,
in this scenario.
He's Baby Groot in this. So.
Gotcha.
And then Geese and Drolf are just like two people who bicker back and forth, and they keep fucking with each other. So like, they like Giralf will do one thing, and then Geese will be like, "Well, I didn't like why is he stealing my spotlight?" And then we'll do something, and then it'll cause chaos. It's very much like, they try to like make them the bickering twin siblings of the story.
Got it.
So, like I said, the veil is very thin as far as this because the plane hadn't been inhabited a year prior to the events of the Omen Path, which is how we got here. And to me, that is very much like Jurassic Park. Like when you see this, and I'm sorry that if this ruins Jurassic Park for you, and it will, that is my apology up front. When you are watching Jurassic Park and they come up to the Tyrannosaurus Rex complex, there is a goat that is put on the other side of the fence. And you see it clearly. It is raining. It is raining. There's a goat on the other side. And they're looking at the windows like, oh, where's the T-Rex? Are we going to see any dinosaurs in this dinosaur theme park type thing? So the car is shut down. They're sitting there on the road. And then here comes the scene. The fence is shut down. And when they do, the goat disappears and the T-Rex is eating it right next to the fence. Okay. The T-Rex busts.
Following so far.
Yeah. No holes in the plot thus far. The T-Rex bursts through the fence because it's no longer electrified. And that's when chaos starts to ensue. People get out of the car, people start running for their lives and shit like that. The T-Rex tips over a car and starts pushing it towards the fence that had just burst through. There was a goat just on the other side of that fence. It was just standing on the other side of that fence, so much so that it was able to just walk through. It pushes the car up next to the fence and tosses it over the fence off a cliff. A cliff that did not previously exist there. How did the T-Rex break through the fence if there was a 300-foot drop right on the other side of that fence? That it kills me every single time I watch that movie.
I was not previously aware of this plot hole.
Yeah. So Dr. Grant in this the girl and the little boy or whatever, the cars.
No. I get the scenario. I was just previously unaware of it.
Dude, it's crazy that everyone overlooks it, but it's like, didn't the T-Rex just come through that hole in the fence right there and it just pushed it through? Well, that's the same deal here with Thunder Junction. Is like, oh, there's like houses built and like they have like they're pouring alcoholic distilled beverages that have been aged for a particular amount of time, and they just got here a year ago. Who made all these cowboy hats? Who made all the like?
Yeah. I mean, this place exists because it needs to exist for the concept.
Yeah, there's a centaur that has spurs on his front feet. It does not make sense at all. So yeah, it's a very thin veil. We're here. We're just enjoying the vibes, I guess. We're not here for the story. The story also sort of shitty when it comes down to it. A lot of people are saying they're excited for the future of Magic storytelling, and I do not know where that comes from. But
I see a couple cards that reference the Fomori, which is supposed to be the next big bad. Is there more of that in the lore stuff, or
no? So the Fomori,
okay,
they hardly, they don't even mention the.
No, it's just still deep hints.
Yes, a lot of hints. People are speculating that. So the reason that they come to the set is that there is a vault here. A vault that has many treasures or horrors or whatever. It's like, this is like Borderlands, this set right here, until they make Borderlands the set. And there's just a gang of hoodlums coming down to the saloon and gathering and plotting out their whole like heist deal here. And they're fighting which we haven't seen the card for this yet, but Okum, which is like a legendary scorpion dragon, and they're battling against him and his gang for access to the vault, and that's pretty much the whole story.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Should we talk about these cards, I guess?
Yeah, we should probably get to that. All right.
Yeah. We said we were gonna. I mean, we talked about Dr. Pepper. We said we were talking about Dr. Pepper.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it pretty extensively.
We talked about our giveaway.
Now, we talked about our giveaway, and we owe the people talking about some of these cards, I guess.
Yeah. First and foremost, Oko is a big old piece of dookie in this set. Not nearly as good as the previous version.
Yeah, not as good as one of the most cracked cards of all time.
Yeah.
Weirdly. They decided not to make a massive blunder again.
Yeah, no, I would have appreciated it because they seem to have made a lot of powerful cards in contrast to how dookie Oko the ringleader is. So first, let's talk about some cards that can contribute to CEDH in the community, in specifically the Pacific Northwest community. We've been talking about Vraska the Silencer, a 3-mana 3/3 death touch. It's 1 of black and a green. Gorgon Assassin. Whenever a non-token creature an opponent controls dies, you may pay 1. If you do, return that card to the battlefield tapped under your control. It's a treasure artifact with tap, sacrifice, add 1 mana of any color, and it loses all other card types. This is pretty cool. Like, this is a great way to benefit from, committing a crime where you remove an opponent's creature, or you have Orcish Bowmasters out on this is out on the battlefield. Orcish Bowmasters comes down. This is going to make your opponents hesitate on what they target with the Orcish Bowmasters, unless it's something on your side of the field. You're not just going to be sniping dorks anymore if Vraska is something that's present on the battlefield or has the ability to be reanimated. Like Teom, I don't know if Teom wants this because it does contribute to mana. I guess you do get more mana off of it, but you don't get vigilance counters when you reanimate one of those cards because it doesn't enter as a creature. But this is potentially a stacks piece that will just make your opponents make bad decisions. And as the Ritter catchphrase goes, make your opponents make bad decisions, right? So,
Oh, I thought we were talking about Willie send us peeps.
oh, that is your other catchphrase.
Because that is the okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we're still coining that one.
Gotcha.
The
That's
other
still
one.
in the formation stage.
Yes.
But my other catchphrase is make your opponent make mistakes, which I love.
Yeah. So I feel like this card,
love to see it.
Yeah, the static ability is good enough to warrant testing in the CDH right now. As long as you are striving for that mid game mindset, this is going to be like worth trying out. Seeing it in the 99 if you're playing like off the back foot. I know that's exactly how Atlas likes to play, and I think and in the conversation, he's the one leading the charge on the reasoning for this. So, notably, Vraska is an outlaw. If you aren't aware, an outlaw is an assassin, a rogue, and a few other things. Well, here we go. It is assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogues, and warlocks are all outlaws. So,
I mean, it's an additional thing to keep track of.
Yes.
I mean, you don't have to actively keep track of, but like it's an additional piece of information you have to keep in your head if you're trying to play that someone might be able to take competitive advantage of.
Yeah, totally. And they would need, as long as they're able to explain it, then I'm okay. It's like once we get down to and
That's
you see
fair.
the alternate arts, like they take the reminder text away. So if you're playing these cards, you're playing the alternate arts, just make sure you're able to, the rulings on these types of things. It's another direction that Wizards of the Coast has decided to go to make the sets more flavorful. Like, as you can see, committing a crime. Whenever you commit a crime, committing a crime is targeting opponents, anything they control, and or cards in their graveyards is a crime. Just targeting any of them for any particular reason. Now, the few loopholes that I do see, and is, excuse me, attacking your opponents is not committing a crime, which it seems like it should be. And then also messing with their hand is not committing a crime. Like if you make them discard a card. If you thought seize them, that is target player. So yes, you will be committing a crime, but like making...
You know what? I'm actually glad that it's less intuitive than it needs to be.
Yeah,
like
so...
that it's just a little bit complicated. Great. Fantastic.
Yeah, if you know of any more loopholes, like if you're listening to this, you know any more loopholes, something that I have not recognized quite yet, make sure to let us know. You can find us in the Discord server and just sort of like bring it up in conversation. I really want to know if there's anything that I'm missing here so that I can sort of wrap my brain around these strategies. Okay, so committing a crime, being an outlaw, explained, done that. Two most complicated things in the set. The next card that I want to talk about, which because it is Food Chain Commander, it is Anti-Flash the Veteran. For 3, a red, a green, and a white. You have a legendary human rogue, 4/5 with flash. Anti-Flash enters the battlefield. If you cast it, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Whenever Anti-Flash becomes tapped, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards this turn. Wow. This is instant speed Food Chain. Kind of crazy. I really like it.
Where are you brewing with this so far? Where does it make sense? Where do you feel initially that it ranks versus like other good Food Chain commanders?
Well, I think this allows for far more velocity in your build. You can be a little bit more aggressive in card velocity. So and by that I mean like Faithless Looting doesn't hurt you. I've been playing a lot of these like draw 2, discard a card effects in Naya because red is like it's very prevalent, where like green and white struggles with card draw and card advantage. Red sort of gives you that impulsive like nature to this whole thing. So you can actually discard a Food Chain to to one of these effects, knowing that it's still there in the bin. You know, your Savine's Reclamation becomes like your backup commander to a certain extent. So this is going to allow you to like also recover from like anybody interacting with, you know, like you cast Food Chain, counter it, you know, like I dare you, because I'll just pull it from the graveyard when I cast my commander, and then I'll just keep going anyway. So this has like built-in protections to counter spells. The one thing that I can imagine is your worst nightmare when playing this is like having your Food Chain hit with like a Force of Negation, because you know it exiles it. And so our like obviously Agatha's Soul Cauldron is a card that I praise and I love. Agatha's Soul Cauldron is going to mess with you, you know, here. So there are a few weaknesses. It's obviously weak to grave strategies or like grave interaction and stuff like that. But I feel like this allows you to be a little bit more hellbent in your strategy in pursuit of Food Chain. Where
not
like
the technical term hellbound, or are you using technical term hellbound?
No, not the technical term. But
gotcha.
What this does do is it allows you to like basically throw whatever you want in the grave. You can play a lot more mill strategies now and just like sort of like get everything back from your graveyard. There's loops, you know, like if you're Food Chaining with this, there's like once it enters the battlefield, you need to have, I guess, a few cards in your graveyard. So you're not like, you can play like Lotus Petal for infinite mana. You can play a few other things that'll just allow you to generate infinite non-restrictive mana and continue to go forward, which is why I really like this card. You can play so you can also probably play like a Goblin Welder or Goblin Welder lines or something of the sort, so that you can keep bringing stuff back. I don't know the full extent of the deck, but like off the top of my head, I haven't quite built it yet. But I do like the ability of like being able to come in and then just recur things that you've already went through or you've already processed, and then continue to, just basically you'd win the game right there. So like a Seal of Fire, like this Enchantress build that I like tend to enjoy. Like if I'm Food Chaining, Seal of Fire wins the game, which is just a positive side effect. If you're unfamiliar with Seal of Fire, it's 1 red mana for an enchantment that says you can sacrifice it at any time to deal 2 damage to any target. So it's sort of like selective in the way that it, I was using it in Shalai Halar with the Red Terror to get a +1/+1 counter at any given moment. Sort of like plotting, which I guess that's another complicated element to this set that we haven't quite discussed yet. Plotting is basically foretelling, except it is revealed, and you can cast that card.
Again, I'm glad that it's slightly more complicated than it needs to be, instead of just using an existing mechanic.
Right. So plotting, you're foretelling a card face up, and you can cast it in future turns. You can't cast it the same turn, but you can cast it in a future turn without paying its mana cost. So it allows you to, well, a lot of the cards in this set, like Geralf, the Fleshright, whenever you cast a spell during your turn, other than the first spell that turn, create a 2/2 blue and black zombie rogue. So it's benefiting off of casting more than one spell each turn. So that's where like the plotting comes in, where it's like, I plotted this in a previous turn. I'm going to cast my first spell, and then I'm going to cast this second one for free, and I'm going to get a benefit off of that. So not bad.
I mean, it's a good mechanic. I just object to multiple new mechanics in every set on basic principle. This is a running theme.
Yeah. Hey, would you look at that? Kellen the Kid. It is another Food Chain commander, potentially. You'll love to see it. Kellen the Kid is Bant now. It is green, white, and blue. Human Fairy Rogue, a 3/3 flying lifelink. Whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or lesser mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land from your hand onto the battlefield. Now, the reason that it's food chain is because when you're probably going for Mist Hollow Griffin here. When you cast the Mist Hollow, it's 4 mana. So you basically get to cast anything from your hand that's 4 mana or less. If you have some sort of like when a creature enters the battlefield, draw a card, allows you to draw your library and play all of the cards for free. So cool stuff. Don't know how viable it is. We're gonna see. It's a flying lifelink 3/3. I don't think it really has like a lot of ground. There are just better cards out there and better commanders that just say draw a card instead. But yeah, more cards that will, I think, have a significant influence on CEDH and how we move forward. 1, Final Showdown. Ritter, have you seen this card?
Final Showdown, is that if it is the card I'm thinking of? Oh no, I haven't seen this. No, it is one of the spree cards.
Yeah. So
Which, by
another
the way,
new mechanic.
I know I was just poo-pooing new mechanics. Spree, I'm okay with because it's completely intuitive. Where I feel like the other mechanics that I was, negative about, it's because they overlap with existing mechanics and they are not intuitive. And I feel like they could have done it within the design space that already exists rather than complicating the game further.
Right. Yeah. This is kicker plus, is the way it feels.
Exactly. I mean, again, this could just be kicker.
Yeah.
But
and it could have just multi kicker, but they really wanted the option to be like, hey, if you want to pay 1 additional, here it is. If you want to pay 5 additional, here it is. But they've done that in the past with like the Sun Zenith or whatever, where it's like if you paid X amount of mana, you get this X additional effect. They've had no problem writing that out.
They've done the I think it was in the most recent Zendikar Rising. Was that the most recent Zendikar set?
Yep.
Return. Yeah, where they had the modular cards where it's like choose 1 or more, and they started doing that kind of stuff. This is a different flavoring of that where I think it does need a different keyword because it overlaps with too many existing things in the game where it doesn't fit nicely within one of the existing categories.
Yeah. Now, the other thing with it is that it is still counts towards a cast cost. Like if you cast Final Showdown for 1 white mana and then pay no additional costs, or you have to choose 1 or more. So you do have to. Okay, so you can't just like cast it for 1 mana. You have to choose at least one of these additional costs in order to cast it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's a fun way to play with modular abilities. And, I guess we can talk about the card now. I think it has a lot of functionality. Like, you're paying 2 for all creatures to lose all abilities until end of turn, which is huge, when you have, all of those stacks effects stapled to bodies, right?
Yep.
Or you can pay 2 to choose a creature control, gains indestructible until end of turn, which is protection. Or you can pay 6 to do a Wrath, destroy all creatures. Or you can do some combination of all these things. 5, 6, 7. You can pay up to 8 to choose your best creature. Just, and destroy all their creatures.
Yeah,
and get around, some whatever stacks thing that would prevent you from doing that.
Right. It's crazy. I think this card, the modular, the costs are worth it from what I see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think this is like I'm saying, in terms of a new mechanic, this is a good expression of things that you expect to do in the game that are covered by existing mechanics, but it's covered by several different existing mechanics, and this is an elegant way to combine them into one thing.
Yeah. The big thing that I see with this is that it's instant speed. This is the first of like first playable instant speed Wrath I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're paying 6 for an instant speed Wrath, I believe that is the going rate, kind of, to get a Wrath effect at instant speed, 6 CMC. But those cards don't really see play, except for this card. I could see getting play in a competitive environment because also at instant speed you're getting two other worthwhile effects. Like,
Right.
you'd pay 2 for dress down, wouldn't you? And this card is essentially a big dress down in some respects.
Yeah.
Um, you'd pay. Maybe you wouldn't pay 2 to give a creature you control indestructible, but for no downside on a card that you're already playing, it's pretty good incentive. It's minor incentive.
Yeah, I think it's like you look at the charms, like you can look at like Rakdos Charm,
Hmm.
Boros Charm, or whatever,
Yep.
and you would think that like, man, 2 of these modes are hella playable, and the third one, I doubt it'll ever come up. I
Hmm.
promise you, it will come up. Like,
I would say, if we're rating it that way, it's one mode is extremely relevant, which is the dress down mode, and all three are, will come up.
yeah, and I think
Maybe
that
not all the time, but it'll come up, and you'll be glad that you have this card in your hand at that time. And at the same time, this card won't be a dead card in other situations because you'll always be glad to have this card because all three abilities will potentially come into play.
yeah, I think this is like the dress down mode is obviously the most attractive. Like, I think that's immediately what we see. We say, hey, this makes it so that we don't lose the game. Like, if I can cast that and it means I don't lose the game, hell yes. Yes, this is playable. And like now you have all this upside to it. I think the fact that it's like, hey, you can actually, one, stop all death triggers, like all creatures losing all abilities until end of turn, choose a creature you control, it gains indestructible, and then destroy all of the creatures. It's like you can be the last one standing and keep like death triggers from going on the stack to win the game. So like someone puts a spell like or puts a Gitrog like on the field, or not a Gitrog, a like a Protean Hulk on the field, and you have the ability before they're able to sacrifice it to like interact. This is going to stop that from going off, which is like hell yes, that's amazing. So there are like little nuances with that'll also make it more valuable down the line. But yeah, it's a great card. I'm excited for it and how it like sees play. It's probably going into a lot of my white decks, even though slots seem, far like few between. This is definitely gonna find a spot. And speaking
You
of,
know what? I love a mono white commander. Uh, man, I love this card, and I feel like white. The downside has always been that it can do a little bit of everything, but in a not great way. And then this is now white, like doing its multi-classing in a great way. And I think there might be some mono white commanders worth reevaluating with the new tools that have been printed.
totally. And I will say, last thing on Final Showdown is that Dress down is a permanence that comes in and sticks around, where you are not like, you can respond to a dockside with dress down and it stops the dockside, or a Thassa's Oracle with dress down and it stops that. This does not stop a dockside or a Thassa's Oracle. So that's where it's like limiting in some ways, because
Mhm.
it's all creatures lose all abilities until end of turn. It is counting the creatures on the battlefield in the moment. It is not.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean that is true. That is one of the uses of dress down. But I feel like oftentimes I'm using that card just to turn off stacks effects and be able to go off and do what I want to do.
totally, totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
um,
And in that way, that's the comparison I'm making.
yeah. And speaking of creature-based stacks, we do have another mono white card worth mentioning that will have influence on CDH. It is Aven Interrupter. For 1 and 2 white, you get a bird rogue 2/2 flash with flying. And when Aven Interrupter enters the battlefield, exile target spell. It becomes plotted. Spells your opponents cast from graveyards or from exile cost 2 more to cast. Wow. this is pretty unbelievable. Like as far as like versatility, like we talked about with like where white has always been able to do a little of everything, but not as good. I think they're finally stepping in and saying, well, this is what white does. Like this is what it like
Yeah.
this is its identity. So Aven Interrupter, the fact that it's able to exile a spell and then plot it, which means that it can't be cast that turn. Like it has to be cast on a future turn, and then it costs 2 more to cast. So it costs 2 colorless mana after it's been exiled to cast. Not only that, that last line of text is so good here, where spells your opponents cast from graveyards and from exile cost 2 more to cast. This stops...
Underworld Breach players hate this card.
Yes. You'll love this one trick to stopping Underworld Breach. And like this stops Food Chain from happening. This stops Underworld Breach from happening. This stops many loops from happening, where just like I think like Graveyard Recursion is so popular and how players want to win the game. This is like, no, I'm actually going to when you cast Underworld Breach, I will actually flash this in and exile the Underworld Breach on the stack, and you'll have to cast it at a future turn, and then it'll be absolutely useless when you try to cast it, or when you go ahead and cast it. So this is
this is again a white card that's built not to do any one thing incredible, but to do 3 things pretty well.
Yeah, and God, does it do them well, like really, really well. That like this is another, like it's 3 mana, so this is immediately going into pretty much every Teon build out there. It is a creature based stacks with flash. It has so much. It does so much. I love this card. I think it's going to be seeing a lot of play like moving forward. And speaking of more white cards that are mentioned, like you can mention in CDH, High Noon, 1 and 1 or 1 and a white enchantment. Each player can't cast more than 1 spell each turn, and then you can pay 4 in a red, sacrifice High Noon, it deals 5 damage to any target. I feel like we're just going to talk about a lot of white cards. Everything else in these other colors have trouble standing up to how good these cards are right now. This is the cheapest rule of law effect that we've ever seen. It has evasion in being an enchantment, and also has upside by being able to sacrifice it when you want to go off. So for 4 in a red, so 5 mana, sacrificing it to deal 5 damage to any target, that kills a lot of things and also deals damage to the face. If I was still playing Shalyn Halar, this would go right in, because this allows me goes like allows me to go crazy. It allows me to have control over the tempo of the game and how I want it to unfold. So I really love this card for stacks decks moving forward, mostly Naya stacks. Unfortunately, this isn't something that Abzan can really abuse, but I like that it's a little bit restricted to like Boros inclusion. There's also, outside of white cards, there is Insatiable Avarice in black. It is 1 black mana. It's a spree card, sorcery, that you can pay 2 additional colorless mana, search your library for a card, then shuffle and put that card on top. So for 3 total mana, you can do that. Or you can pay 5 total mana, so 2 and 3 black. Target player draws 3 cards and loses 3 life. So you can put a card on top of your library and then draw 3 cards and lose 3 life for 5 mana. And I think that is worth it. I think that's a really great, like, tutor, get some.
It's very abusable.
Yes. I think that you can win the game with this card. These legendary enchantments.
What is the cost of that? 5?
It's 1 black mana, and then you can pay 2 additional to search your library for a card and put it on top. So that's probably one of the...
3. We're at 3.
Yep, 3. And then you can pay 2 additional black mana to draw 3 cards and lose 3 life.
So that is a total of 5 CMC if you're choosing both spree modes.
Yes.
Which is the going rate to play a card that wins the game.
Yeah.
In competitive Magic.
That is the other side of it.
You know, like basically people say like, if you're at 5 CMC, this card needs to be as good as OUTLAWS or better, right?
Yes, and this is a card that says I'm not as good as OUTLAWS because it's sorcery speed, not instant speed. OUTLAWS is just, you know, like infinitely better than this for sure. Because not only are you getting, you're not just getting 3 cards in your hand, you know, including one that you choose. You're probably getting 30 cards in your hand, and like 4 of them win you the game. So
yeah, this is kind of OUTLAWS at home.
Yeah, this is Kajnaws.
Kajnaws. Oh man, that's good.
Yeah, there we go. Coin it, baby.
Coin it. Kajnaws. Willie, send us Peeps. Kajnaws.
Mid-range mindset. All right, the legendary enchantment cycle where these characters join up all seem pretty good. Tiny Bones joins up as 1 black mana, enters the battlefield. Any number of target players each discard a card. Whenever a legendary creature enters the battlefield under your control, any number of target players each mill a card and lose 1 life. So if you have a way to infinitely bounce a legendary creature that you control, I don't know, Rogsai could definitely benefit from this. Or well, they're actually a pretty tight line. They don't really have much room to be fiddling around with like side win cons. But I do see like the benefit in being able to like Cloudstone Curio your way to a win with this. As far as that goes, I mean, those are pretty much all the like rares and mythics that are worth mentioning in my vision right now as like CDH all-stars right off the bat. You know, we can talk about Jace if we want. It's 2 blue mana. You can't cast a spell during your first, second, or third turns of the game. I don't think that'll really matter, but this is the 3rd 2 mana planeswalker that we've ever seen. The others being Tibalt and Renin 6. And so this is falling somewhere in between where you can +1, draw a card, then discard a card. You can +1, you may exile a non-land card with mana value 3 or less from your hand. And if you do, it becomes plotted. Or you can -6 until end of turn. Whenever you cast a spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. If you have to wait till turn 4 to cast this in CDH, it's not going to do anything. That's an objectively bad card. This is going to be seeing a lot of standard play, or you're going to see CGB playing this card a lot because it turns Restoration of Iganjo into a really good card. Where it was already good, it's now a really good card because you can put this on the battlefield for free by discarding it. So and you can cheat that little static thing where it says you can't cast this in your first, second, or third. There's also people speculating that you can play Leyline and cast this on your opponent's like first, second, or third turn, since that seems to circumvent that little loophole. That's pretty much all the notes I have on Jace. There's a few other.
No, I think for me, the thing I want to note about Jace is something you already said, but I want to like harp on is that 2 mana planeswalker, pretty good. I mean, there's some stinkers in the bunch, definitely. One of the Tibalts, truly garbage.
Yes,
but I think there's potentially high upside, despite the fact that you can't. There's the nominal restriction on there, but I mean, you're in blue. You're gonna find a way to play your stuff at instant speed on your opponent's turn.
Right.
So it's not that much of a restriction. I think this card. I don't have a specific vision for it, but I think it is high upside.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. All right. Moving on to some multicolored creatures. I think there's really just a couple here. The Gitrog monster is, well, we were talking about mounts off the record, but I don't see.
Yeah. It is maybe in this set with new mechanics the worst new mechanic, and it's the worst expression of like this overlaps with these existing things, uh, and it doesn't improve on it, and the payoffs aren't good enough.
Yeah. So if you're unaware of what saddle is crewing, but you are crewing a creature that is already a creature and can already attack. Then there's supposed to be a benefit to saddling the creature. So because you mount it up, I know they're using like terminology like if you saddle this thing, you're mounting this creature. They've always in the past used like grammar that is attributed to like the ability. So like if the creature is saddled, not mounted, if the creature is saddled, do this, right? But then they've said if this creature is mounted, they actually do say if a creature that saddled it this turn. So they did use the terminology here, but they've also used different terminology in different cards where it says if this creature is mounted, and so it's kind of like weird because it is a mount as well. I get it, which has got to be clearer. You got to be very clear on how we use the words here. I don't see any reason to ever saddle Gitrog Monster unless you have an infinitely large, and then you would just kill yourself with the ability. Yeah, it's a 6/5 for 5 with haste.
Again, it seems underbaked. It like so much flavor in terms of this stuff, but I don't see a reason for this to exist.
No, this is
organically,
Yeah, the Gitrog Monster had its best version the first time around, and the two other printings that we see this, and then the Gitrog and Thalia, much worse, much worse, disrespecting the frog, and I hate to see it. Hate to see it get worse. We have
don't disrespect the frog.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Willie, send us Peeps.
Okay. Rakdos.
This is our stupidest episode.
Yeah, we're getting there. Rakdos the Muscle is another card that has potential infinite outlets. Whenever you sack another creature, exile cards equal to its mana value from the top of target player's library. So if you have a way to infinitely sack something, you can exile everybody's libraries and then pass the turn and win the game. Cool beans, cool stuff. There's another food chain commander here. Roxanne! You don't have to turn on the red light. Yeah, right. Roxanne, Starfall Savant. Whenever Roxanne enters the battlefield or attacks, create a tapped colorless artifact token named Meteorite with, when Meteorite enters the battlefield, deals 2 damage to any target. That's all you need to know. But you can also tap that Meteorite for 1 mana of any color. Whenever you tap an artifact token for mana, add 1 mana of any type that artifact token produced. This includes treasures. So if you if you want to sack a treasure, you're going to get 2 mana.
We finally got a Mana Rock commander. People have been clamoring for a Mana Rock commander.
Yeah, it's like
finally got one.
Yeah, it's like Kinnan didn't exist before this. It's for 2 mana, but this is 5 mana for a 4/3. And you can food chain the hell out of this. Like
how do you rate it on the food chain scale?
It's
0 to 10. What is the strength?
It's worse than Atali, and it's not better than it's better than Zakama. It's not as good as Atali. It's worse than.
Well, let's assign some power levels, 0 to 10 on the food chain scale.
Ooh,
what's Atali on the food chain scale?
It's like a 3 or 4. And
Atali is a 3 or 4 out of 10 on the food chain scale?
Atali's like a 7 or 8, maybe higher.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, this is like
and Roxanne is a 3 or a 4.
Yes. Atali lets you play 3 of your opponent's cards for free. There's versatility beyond that where you can, like curse mirror the Atali and get additional triggers. And there are so many ways to like bounce and cycle and get additional ETB triggers. I get that throwing 2 damage around is really great. If you're not able to end it, you're just feeding a dockside. Like you are just, You're just creating things for other people to benefit off of if you're not able to end the game quickly or instantly. And as we know, in just Gruul alone, the reason that Atali is so much higher on the food chain aspect is because it doesn't need it to win the game. It just wins the game, where this needs it to win the game. And there's just not many ways to tutor. There's not many ways to tutor food chain onto the battlefield in these colors. So
I mean, it's a good casual food chain commander. You're saying?
Yes, I think that is where we're. Oh, in what is casual food chain? Like anytime you bring.
I mean, yeah, by definition, if you are food chaining, you're probably not very casual.
Yeah, you're trying to end the game instantly. So yeah, that's kind of it's worth mentioning. I don't know how viable it'll be. I think you will see it at the competitive level at some point, but
really, okay. Why do you think the upside is so high then? Is it just people will tinker with it and see?
Yeah.
And there's enough upside there that it might be viable if you really, really want to commit to it.
Yeah, exactly. Where there's like, hey, it does say if you get food chain together, you win the game. So I think that's a good enough reason for people to explore that option, at least while it's hot off the presses.
But doesn't food chain say that on the card already, that if you get food chain, you win the game?
Well, not necessarily, because I mean,
it implies it heavily enough that,
Yeah, it says that you can cast infinite spells, but like Zakama notably doesn't win the game when food chain is assembled. You have to have an additional piece. So, but where like this, you don't need an additional piece. It's in the command zone. So it's like you create infinite meteorites and deal infinite damage to the table. Where like Zakama, yeah, you get to untap your lands infinitely or whatever. Like Rocco also wins the game because you get to search your library for every single creature card and put it onto the battlefield. So I don't know. That's why I rate it. I think Zakama is like, if I'm rating this a 4 or whatever, I think Zakama is like a 3 or a 2 and in the food chain respects. Even though I want it to be better than that. It's not. All right. We have a couple more characters showing up in the story. Crom is back as an uncommon. You hate to see it, but its effect is still pretty strong. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Crom and draw a card. So still benefiting off of casting your second spell, but it's not whenever someone casts a second spell. It's only when you do. Finally fixed Crom. It's too bad the other one exists. And then we have
Yeah, I mean, that is a running theme for most of the versions of these characters in this set, right?
Yeah, they're fixed in a way.
Yeah.
Just as you would fix.
What about Malcolm the Eyes? Surely this is more busted than the other Malcolm.
Oh, you might think so. Oh wait, nope. Whatever.
What about Bruce Tarl? I've seen that card get no.
No. Yeah, all these partners are weak as shit. Just.
Yeah, I mean,
sloppy,
you know what? I gotta
shit.
say, I like the idea of this set. So I don't like the idea of this set. I like you disagree conceptually with the narrative reasons for this set. From a design standpoint, though, I do like it, even if a lot of these particular cards aren't amazing. I think overall, like, there are some strong design elements here.
Yeah, I would agree there. Yeah. If you're playing this set for the gaming elements, this is a good set. Like, I think this is a very exciting set.
Like Riku of Many Paths, like I love this as a casual commander. Have you seen this card?
Yeah. Yep. You can go ahead and read it if you want.
Yeah. Green, blue, red. It's a 3/3 legendary creature, human wizard. Whenever you cast a modal spell, choose up to X, where X is the number of times you chose a mode for that spell. So that includes Spree, and then there's other types of modal spells that we've mentioned. Whenever you do that, for each time you've chosen a modality, exile the top card of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play it. put a +1/+1 counter on Riku of Many Paths, and it gains trample until end of turn. So, this card can become a beast. Or create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying. So you can go wide with it. And so there's no once per turn restriction here. And all of those modal cards give you so much reach, between Kicker and Spree and the other versions of what might be included as a modal spell. This is just a really fun casual commander. It's just, you can sit there and hang out and play and compete and just do a whole bunch of different things in a fun way. I personally love this card.
Yeah, I think it gives new life to those cards from Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, like the Dungeons and Dragons sets, where
they're also modal. That is correct.
Yeah. So
choose a path.
Exactly. Boom. Right there. There's you get one of these effects. The limitation on this is that it says you can choose up to X, where X is the number of times. So you're not going to get some crazy, you will get all three effects by casting Sublime Epiphany, but you can't choose any of these abilities more than once. So
yeah, but you can do them more than once per turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Modal spells, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that if your entire deck is hey, this is a modal spell, this is a modal spell, which man, pick your poison is there's while that is the name of a card, it is also is a modal spell.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm saying, as a player at a casual table, how fun would it be to have your commander Riku of Many Paths out, and you have all these modal spells where you're constantly naming the card as you're casting it, but addressing the other player and being pick your poison.
Yeah,
trash talking them. It seems I'm saying it seems like such a fun commander.
A braid is modal. There are so many things out there now that are modal.
Farewell, or if you're playing Sayonara,
yeah,
one of the foreign language versions.
And now I wish Overload was a mode that you could choose, because then you could Psych Rift and get a benefit. But
yeah, if only Psych Rift had an upside, it would be playable. One day they'll print a card that breaks Cyclonic Rift.
I'm just looking at the ceiling. No, you're right. It is there are design elements here within the set that make it very fun to play. If you're at draft night, I feel like as long as the color fixing is there, which they have put in multiple multicolored lands, we have the reprint of the Kaladesh, these quick lands or whatever. They enter the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or fewer lands. Those all come in, and the alternate arts are really pretty because it is a panorama of the train that that the heist is pulled on. So really cool design element there as far as the set goes. And then they also have the new type of dual land that we haven't seen before, which Mark Rosewater was teasing, which is you get 10 dual colored deserts that when they enter the battlefield, they deal 1 damage to target opponent. So benefits beyond. I think this is going to be a great card for you to, it's going to be a top pick in draft for sure.
For sure. Yeah. And also more deserts have finally been printed. There's lots of cards that have been printed throughout Magic's history that have payoffs for having a desert in play, and yet so few actual desert subtyped cards to get those payoffs. So,
yeah, it's like when Amonkhet came out and they were like, oh, we might have did too much. Ramanap Ruins is crazy. They've definitely found and are able to strike a balance now. And there is a commander from one of the decks that is desert focused, I believe. Yes.
There it is.
Yuma.
Do you have it in front of you?
Yeah, it's Yuma, Proud Protector. It is a high mana value. It is 8 mana, 5, and then a green or a red, green, and a white. This spell costs a human ranger legendary creature 6/6, costs 1 less to cast for each land card in your graveyard. So this is potentially 3 mana for a 6/6, which is a good rate. Whenever Yuma Proud Protector enters a battlefield or attacks, you may sacrifice a land. If you do, draw a card. Whenever a desert card is put into your graveyard from anywhere, create a 4/2 green plant warrior creature token with reach.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's another type of like creature in this set. They're like cactus people, and those are your plant warriors.
Oh, are they like cactars from Final Fantasy?
Oh, dude, you wish they were that cute.
They're not.
No, they're not. They're not
bummer.
cute. Yeah, we got a mythic one, Bristly Bill, and he's also worth mentioning.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and then you can pay 5 and double the number of counters or number of +1/+1 counters on each creature you control. So, Bristly Bill, also really strong, probably an inclusion in Shalai Halar if I ever move back in that direction. But the slots, they're so tight. Such a good deck.
Yes.
And to sort of like capitalize on the moment and finish off today's episode, we'll touch lightly on the cards from the big score. Like there are the breaking news cards, so you're getting a reprint of Oko Thief of Crowns, you're getting a reprint of Mana Drain, and then
Thoughtseize.
Yeah, Thoughtseize, Grindstone.
Path to Exile. They finally reprinted Path to Exile. Oh, thank God.
Yes. Thank you. And then you have Dust Bowl, which hadn't had a reprint in a long time. So there are definitely a few cards that you're getting that are getting significant reprints. There's no way.
They need to update the typing on Dust Bowl to make that a desert. Come on.
Yes, they do.
We're out of that.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
It is. Now's the moment. Now's the time. But then you would get a trigger off of Yuma, and you would be able to create a plant warrior, and that's just too strong.
That's cracked. Sorry.
Yeah. Cracked. Here we go. Big score. We are getting.
We've already talked about the Sword of Wealth and Power, right?
Yep. Yeah. This is a supplemental set. If you've forgotten, after Outlaws of Thunder Junction comes out, you will get this set a few weeks afterwards. So these are standard legal cards. Sword of Wealth and Power. Great. We talked about that. Potentially really strong, potentially spoiler in the artwork. Those horns on the side of the sword are relics of the Fomori, and it is rumored that the Fomori are the owners, or who are the basically in the shadows in this current story arc that there's the story that they're weaving. So
Evan, you lied to me earlier when I said, is there anything about the Fomori in the story?
Oh, because there's no mention.
I asked you point blank.
There's no mention. But there's rumors. There's
heavy implications.
Yeah, this is a fans and of lore who have come forward on Reddit and have given me these details. They were not written.
Okay, this is the theory stage.
Yes.
These are rumors. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So
technically, you did not lie to me.
Technically, I could be lying to the world, and I would look like a big dum-dum when it comes to when they actually reveal the big secret, and those are just 2 things on the side of a sword that look cool.
Fell for it.
So yeah, Sword of Wealth and Power, but we are also getting Torpor Orb in Standard, a worthy reprint of Torpor Orb as well. 2 mana, creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. We're also getting
ETBs are good. Turning off ETBs is also good.
Yeah, we learned that with Elishnorn, and now we're getting a cheaper version of that. And we also had it with. I don't think this is really going to upset the anything really in Standard. There are 3 effects in Standard right now that stop ETBs from triggering. So this is going to be added to the pool of those that I don't really, this has greater evasion. It's harder to remove. There are some strategies that will benefit from being able to eat an artifact or, bargain or whatever. But yeah, I don't see how it really impacts things moving forward. Just a really nice reprint. We're getting a new card in Transmutation Font, 5 mana artifact at Mythic. You can tap, create your choice of a blood token, a clue token, or a food token. And then you
What a
can...
random collection of tokens.
Whoa! Yeah, no treasures. What? You can tap for 3, or you can pay 3, tap it, sacrifice 3 artifact tokens with different names, search your library for an artifact card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. It seems good. That seems pretty good. And again, these are standard legal cards. They're like Voldaren Epicure creates a blood token on entry. There's a few cards that create map tokens on entry. There's a few cards that create gnomes on entry. So that might be something that
I mean, this card pairs well with Academy Manufacturer. Like,
yeah,
anytime you're creating a token, pretty much you're like, hey, now I can search my, I can pay 3 and search my library for another artifact, which might ETB and create a token, which will set off Academy Manufacturer, and maybe I have something in play that untaps Transmutation Font, and then we go infinite this way. And,
yeah,
you know,
totally. I mean, Manifold Key, like something like that.
Yeah.
All right,
which is searchable from this card.
Yeah, you can get it right on the battlefield. Let's I think also underrated combo lines with the Manifold Key. We have another new card, a creature, Oltec Matter Weaver, 2 and a white, human artificer, also at Mythic. A 2/4 that says whenever you cast a creature spell, choose one, create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token, or create a token that's a copy of target artifact token you control.
That second one is better than the first one.
Yes, it is. You can put this in Food Chain. And it will create you infinite gnomes. But yeah, there's definitely more to be had with that. The second line of text than the first. What that is, you're gonna have to find out on your own. I'm not thinking about it too hard right now. And then we have a dinosaur. Finally, the dinosaur from the set has arrived. It is Vaultborn Tyrant for 7 mana, 5 and 2 green. It is a 6/6 with trample. Whenever Vaultborn Tyrant or another creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life and draw a card. That's good. That's a good line of text. Whenever Vaultborn Tyrant dies, if it's not a token, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. I'm not quite sure how to break that yet. But
it's good.
Yeah.
Right? It just seems good. It's got that Garruk's Uprising, or, that, what do we call that effect in green? When a creature ETBs power 4 or greater and you draw a card plus something else.
Yeah, it's a Garruk's Uprising effect.
Yeah. And there's tons of them.
Yep.
Tons of those effects, and now it's on a big chunky body. And if you're playing this card, you're probably a Timmy, and your deck is probably full of like big chunky bodies, right? This is great for Dinosaur Tribal for sure.
Yeah, it's a huge payoff for Gisheth.
As far as breaking it, when it dies, if it's not a token, okay, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's an artifact. So I mean, it interacts well with Food Chain, I guess.
You can hit it with if you're in green and white, hit it with the Gift of Immortality, and then every turn, you create a new copy of it if you're able to sacrifice it or whatever.
Yeah, but one new copy a turn isn't a great payoff to break it.
Well,
how do you?
You exponentially draw cards because it's whenever.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it'd be like the first one you draw a card, sacrifice it comes back.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think if you can figure out a way to just recur this, you can draw your whole deck, right?
Yeah, it would get out of control fast. I think,
but it needs to be. I think for this to be really good, the way that you recur this infinitely, you need to be able to stop it, right?
Yep.
Because this is not a May effect. It automatically happens. So the recursion, I think, is where you need to be able to stop it. And then it probably needs to be in green already and low CMC.
Yeah, I would have liked this to have an enrage trigger rather than a when it dies trigger. Yeah. But, here we are. More big stompy green dinos at Mythic. This is probably super strong still. I just don't know how it sees play, and it'll probably,
Yeah, for sure.
We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it's just it's one of those green cards with just like a big body and a bunch of lines of text, and it is definitely good. But there's just so many other cards that are like even Questing Beast is not oppressive anymore, right?
Right.
And that has like that's just a wall of great text.
Oodles of it.
Yeah, so how do you determine whether a chunky body in green is actually good, no matter how many lines of text it has on it?
Yeah, and we've talked, ad nauseum about like how they've pushed abilities on things that cost 4 mana or more to promote the mid game strategy. And here we are.
Mid-range mindset.
The mid range mindset. This is just the late game mindset, and we're not about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, this is definitely a Timmy card, right?
Totally. Yes. Yeah. And it's going to feel really good when someone does land it or someone pulls it out of a pack. If you get the alternate art, it is basically Zakama in the artwork.
Oh yeah, these are sweet alternate arts.
Yeah. I think these are going to be like, these are on par with the beauty of, well, that's hard to say.
Kaladesh.
Yeah, like I was going to say that,
Yeah.
and then I realized how beautiful, like, sort of Feast and Famine, the masterpiece is. And then I was like, or like how beautiful the mana crypt, mana vaults, and soul ring are. I'm like,
you know what though? I think this art styling though fits well with those masterpieces. Like if you were gonna build a deck and include a bunch of those and include a bunch of these, we haven't seen everything that's going to be in the big score, right?
Right.
As your cards, like they would aesthetically look well together because they both do in different styles look like they came from a vault. And so if the theme of your deck is like a lot of artifacts with like fancy borders and stuff as if they were jewels and valuables from a vault, they play well together aesthetically. I know that's something that you especially harp on is when like the different borders and treatments like don't fit well with the existing borders and treatments already in your deck. I think these definitely align with that style.
Yeah, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can actually see that when you set them all next to each other, they align. Like, but not like in artwork, like the sort of what like Wealth and Power doesn't match the Torpor Orb in like shade or color, but what the vault frame aligns, which is like important for continuity. So if you set these all next to each other, you're gonna be like, oh, these all came from the vault, like type stuff.
No, but I'm also saying like if you put like this transmutation font next to like that masterpiece mana crypt.
Oh yeah,
you'd be like, oh, this is a collection of different artifacts from a galactic vault or a multiverse vault or something, and you can feel good about it aesthetically.
Yeah, 100
sets. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think these very, very much like they scream like artifacts or like from the vault like type stuff, and and not like from the vault, but like these are vault originated. This is another supplemental set, which I think we're going to see more cards that have even greater influence than these ones do. Like I don't think anyone really foresaw Calyx being as like powerful as it is, being from a supplementary set. And I don't think we as a community valued at announcement what that supplementary set from Aftermath was going to do to the game or how valuable those cards were going to be. And I think now, looking at this, we can all have hope that these are the cards that are going to fill in the cracks of Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Like, if there's any like weak points in the set, when you get this supplementary set, it will either flesh out the set or maybe push the power a little bit further than we're seeing now. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, I feel pretty good about this actually. I know we don't love the lore surrounding this set, but overall, again, just pretty strong on the design elements. I would say please, can we just cool it with introducing so many new needless mechanics all the time?
Yeah.
But other than that, like, I like this set.
Yeah, me too. We're getting more special guests, game night reprints as well. Prismatic Vista getting a reprint. Scape Shift, Notion Thief, Desertion, Morbid Opportunist, Stoneforge Mystic, Brazen Borrower, Port Raiser, Desert, which is a desert, and Mystic Snake. Those are all getting reprints. You can get those at special events. I think if you go to like RCQs and stuff like that, you can get one of these as like a prize or as participation. And then we did talk a little bit about some of these like face commanders from the precons. They all look pretty good. Gonti's artwork is like something out of like Vanguard card fight. Or card fight Vanguard. So that's very aesthetically pleasing to the eye, very fantasy oriented. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. We're just seeing more expanded borders on art cards. I do love the Magda from the set, but we'll talk about that a different day. I'm about tapped out here, Ritter, on all these new cards. There's a lot of stuff. We talked for 90 minutes today on all these new cards.
Yeah.
So
yeah, man, I think you can infer when we're feeling a set and when we're not, just based on like how much it is like pulling teeth to do the set review. And I think here we were just like vibing on some of these cards, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is cool.
Just remember in Jurassic Park, the fence thing. When you're watching it next, just go take a look. Yeah. Immersion is important, like to an extent, in like keeping you grounded to like the story of things, right? If you are not paying attention to the story at all, this set is good. Like this will have contributions to the like greater game for at least 2 years, before we start pushing power.
Yeah, this is such like a March of the Machines Aftermath type set.
Yeah, and the effects, like we're
Where
getting.
I think it's gonna be sneaky, far-reaching effects.
Yes.
In terms of gameplay.
Yeah, like in formats beyond just standard and commander, I feel like these cards are going to like find a way to be like viable in like modern, obviously in Pioneer, and then if we see play in like Vintage or Legacy, I wouldn't be shocked if one of these cards is found to be broken in any of those formats as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or some of these mechanics, like committing a crime. How many times can you infinitely target something that your opponent controls, and how many times can you benefit from that? We'll find out, soon, at April 19th to be exact. We have the ultimate crime committer here in Terror of the Peaks. So, finally getting a reprint, no longer $50, hopefully. I think that's it.
That's it, man. Yeah.
This has been another episode of the MoxStars podcast. If you enjoyed the show, you can help support the show by finding us on YouTube, where you can like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more notifications. You can also find us on all major podcasting platforms. Give us 5 stars. It makes us look super cool. And if you stuck around this long, you saw it at the top of the show, but we are doing giveaways every 2 weeks. This week's prize is a foil stomping ground from Unfinity, the Meteor Showcase art. And you can enter by commenting on the YouTube video with your favorite card from Thunder Junction. Or you can also get additional entries by supporting us on Patreon. If you become a Pepperhead, you get 1 additional free entry. And if you become a Cherry Vanilla Pepperhead, you get 2 additional free entries. So you can get up to 3 entries just by participating and supporting us on Patreon and get a free $25 foil card. All right. This has been the MoxStars podcast. Go out, enjoy yourself a nice Dr. Pepper Peep, and Willie, send us Peeps, for crying out loud.
It's like we always say on this podcast. We've said it every episode. Willie, send us Peeps.
And this is the mid-range, home of the mid-range mindset.
Yep. And what was the third thing? The ad nauseum pun.
Oh, cash naws. This
Cash naws.
insatiable avarice is cash naws.
Yep.
All right. Peace.
See ya.